Quick disclaimer, this video is using a low quality screen capture from the live Twitch stream. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to upscale it. Either way, enjoy. On February 13th, 2022, I played a game of Commander on Twitch against Brennan, Brando, and the late Sheldon Menery. Although the video was recorded as a stream on Twitch, this video I'm gonna show you a recap of the game we played. Our host Brennan is playing Isao and Leiden Bushi, which is an aggressive Voltron deck that wants to swing in early for massive amounts of commander damage before we get a chance to stabilize. Brando, from the Canadian Commander Cookout Podcast, is playing his Brudiclad, Telcor Engineer, 7 Dwarfs deck that wants to create as much 7 Dwarfs token copies as possible and Alpha Strike with them. As chosen by me, Sheldon is playing his Brina the Demagogue Politics deck that wants to win the game by manipulating the endgame. Cool fact, he's designed some of the cards he's running. During the game, Sheldon mentions that Keen Duelist is one of the cards he designed, which, from design to print, remained unchanged. Another card he designed, Promise of Loyalty, underwent a name change and had a different cost. The original name for the card was Kicking the Vow, and instead of 4 and a white, it was 3 and 2 white. The more you know. And finally, as chosen by Sheldon, I'm playing my Cardor the Doomscourge deck, which forces my opponents to attack each other, and eventually run into my stuff video effects to hopefully close the game. Quick side note, we also had a very interesting pregame discussion. There's a link to it in my link tree and in the caption below, so if you're interested, go check that out. Because I've been practicing rolling dice all week, I'm starting the game. On previous streams, I already played some games against Brennan's epic Isao deck. Earlier, I helped him tune the deck, so I'm very aware of what we're dealing with. However, I won't hold it up against him during this game. Brando casts a Dwarf and Blast Miner, and we collectively agree that it's fair to punish non-basic lands. In the early game, Sheldon has a Keen Duelist to efficiently make deals on each of his turns. Brennan is quickly progressing his game plan. Meanwhile, I'm playing a Crown of Doom to put pressure on the game itself, and Brando is making counter deals with Sheldon. Brennan drops his commander early as expected, but Sheldon controls a Maddening Imp, which forces all creatures to attack and destroys them if they don't. He activates it, forcing Brennan to attack. Isao dies because it has Summoning Sickness. Yes, that's how Maddening Imp works. Sheldon suggests that I continue my schemes, so to stay on theme, I cast a Scheming Symmetry, offering him to put a high mana value card on his library as long as he won't target me. He quickly notices that if we turn the game into a 2v2 game, it should be 2 Canadians versus me and Sheldon, as he shares that he's been living in Western Europe for many years. And so, multinational pacts are formed. Meanwhile, to keep my Forbidden Orchard, I offer Brando Spirit tokens and 3 2/2 Knight tokens from my Hunted Dragon in exchange for not destroying my Forbidden Orchard. All of this puts pressure on anyone else controlling the Crown of Doom. Unexpectedly, Brando decides not to attack Brennan, stating he wants to give Brennan a chance. Sheldon doesn't activate his Maddening Imp, so internally, I'm screaming. Luckily, during his turn, Sheldon swings in the air for 9 with Brina. Brennan already took 5 damage from Brina earlier in the game, putting commander damage from Brina up to 14. Brando steps in to thank Sheldon for the island that he put on top of his library with Keen Duelist, and being able to do something soon, noting he has a board state all thanks to us. On his turn, Brennan makes quick work of Sheldon's Whisperseal Cloak and following it up by enchanting Brina with a Song of the Dryads, basically turning Brina into a big forest. Brennan consistently draws an awful lot of cards because his deck has a built-in Enchantress sub-theme. Together with Exploration and Gaia's Touch, he starts dropping 3 lands a turn. At this point, I ask Brando why he didn't attack Brennan last turn. Turns out he was scared of retaliation from Brennan. Brennan attacks me with a 13-15 Isao. I'm glad I kept Hunted Dragon as a blocker, so I block. Brandon then jumps in, saying that he would have definitely killed Brennan if I just took the 13 damage, but how could I have known? Commander gameplay tip. Sometimes you need to ask for a timeout and just discuss the options before moving forward. Brennan discards a whole bunch of cards at the end of his turn and passes. Sheldon, being a former level 5 judge, hints to Brando that his enchanted Brina is not a basic land. I simply cast Spiteful Sliver, which is one of my Stuffido effects. With that, I pass. The chat reminds Sheldon that he still needs to find a land from Boseiju. On his turn, Brando creates a mirror, then turns all his 5 tokens into 5 2/2 Knights with First Strike. However, he doesn't attack and casts a Fraction Processor post-combat, paying 6 life and passes. Sheldon drops a Mana Rock and just passes the turn. He notifies us that we've reached the post-10 turn game. Shady. Brennan casts Instill Energy, one of the cards I suggested for his deck, and again draws a bunch of cards. Then he buffs and he counts his biggest creature's power and toughness, goes to combat, and Sheldon activates his Maddening Imp, forcing Brennan to attack. Like he wouldn't anyway. Brennan attacks Brando with a 17-20 and is forced to run his Enchantress into Sheldon's Keen Duelist. Brando asks me if I would attack him if he survives at 4 life, and, as per agreement, destroys Sheldon's Brina. Before damage, Brennan casts Hunter's Insight and draws another 17 cards. He taps Nykthos for 12 mana and casts a Spinning Wheel Kick, dealing 17 damage to Maddening Imp, Keen Duelist, Brudiclad, a token, and Spiteful Sliver. Sheldon casts a Rootborn Defense in response. Brennan takes 17 damage from the Spiteful Sliver, but he also gains 85 life from the lifelink, so Brennan goes to 128 life. He discards a million cards and passes. I simply cast a Bloodthirsty Blade and attach it to Brennan's huge threat. Brando follows this up with a Phyrexian Metamorph, copying Bloodthirsty Blade. He also attaches it to Brennan's big creature. Now, it's goaded twice and it can only attack Sheldon. On his upkeep, Sheldon targets Brando with Keen Duelist and reveals a Smothering Tithe, killing Brando on the spot. Then, in his own words, comfortably passes the turn. We're all aware he has been holding Fierce Protection the entire game. Brennan casts an Unnatural Growth and just goes to combat. Sheldon, yet again, activates his Maddening Imp. Brennan decides to attack Sheldon with a 50-54 and swings the rest of his creatures at me. I take 4 damage and Sheldon casts his Fierce Protection. In response though, Brennan suddenly casts a Ram Through, and in response to that, I cast a Baleful Mastery targeting the 50-54 to exile it. Unfortunately, but as expected, Brennan casts a Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Sheldon quickly draws 2 cards in response, but unfortunately fails to draw an answer. Baleful Mastery is counted on resolution, then Ram Through resolves, taking Sheldon out of the game by dealing him 48 damage. Damn, I should have exiled the creature that was targeted by Ram Through. Brennan passes the turn. I untap and pass the turn. Brennan simply attacks me but expects shenanigans. I cast a Hellish Rebuke just to see if Brennan takes the bait and maybe casts something out of hubris. But to my disappointment, he doesn't. I then reveal Chef's Kiss and congratulate him on his victory. Looking back, this was exactly the type of game we described in our pregame discussion. Everyone had a chance to play and, as I hoped, we played a lot of interaction. This back and forth gameplay, along with battling and strategy over a few turns, turned this into a great game with an awesome finale. Nowadays, this would probably be a bracket 3 game. Thanks Brennan for hosting this game, Brando for your hilarious unfiltered banter, and Sheldon, I'm grateful for the opportunity of having played games with you. We miss you dearly. I'm your host Les, and you can find me on Instagram as Commandersarsenal. I have a one-person company called Arcadium, which is a pop-up game hall. On Dutch TCG and game venues, I regularly bring Learn to Play Magic with me. New players can build a free intro deck from books sponsored by great Dutch Magic the Gathering vendors like Table Flip Games, Gardel's Magic Table, TCG Drachten, Games and Stuff, and Speedy Toys Zwolle. If you want to support what I do, you can give me a follow there. All links and credits are in the description below. Thank you for watching. Peace.